know what you think they were, what the color looked like. Was there any mining right here at Rincon? Because Rincon Flats was a resort from 1879 to the late 1920s and was finally kind of eliminated back in 1938 with the major flood. Okay, so think about what this area looked like before the 38 flood. And then if you were listening to what I said before, think about what it looked like until the 1969 flood. Because this canyon has changed a lot. Okay, are there any questions before we begin to go for a walk? What does the purple ribbon here or here stand for? I've been a firefighter with the Forest Service for 28 years. Very few people acknowledge the wildland firefighters that are killed every year. Last year, between in city fire departments and wildland fire departments, 109 firefighters were killed on the job. And I have been wearing ribbons for about 15 years. I have lost 2 friends in my career due to wildland fires. So it's one thing that I remind myself of all the time.
I don't know if it's just a specific one or just an overall. CDF people are part of my agency.
Oh yeah, the last big fire I was on was up at Big Sur, and our fire camp was all CDF guys.
Yeah.
So
I know they would appreciate that.
Okay, well, it's for all of us. We're very fortunate today. We do not have a lot of off-road vehicles in here, so I don't think we'll have too much competition for our ears, except for maybe the generator. Okay, shall we go?
Let's go.
Can you hear that? We'll go with that. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. We'd like to welcome all. Usually on Sunday morning. We're very happy all the chairs can make it out. If there's any human beings that want to be in the chairs would feel very good about that. You're tree people, for God's sake.
I am.
How exhausting does that sound? You're all 100 years old.
They look very healthy. Oh, they look pretty good. We're the best. Well, good luck today.
This is a rosy boa, and that is a gopher snake.
Yes.
And this is Steve. I'm a big mouth.
Where do you find those?
The rosy boas live everywhere. They live all over.
And same with gopher snake, just about.
They live here too, all
We're
over.
doing a show for the trees. We immediately said, there's a fourth of what the guitar used to be. Shall we try this? All right. I'm a little frightened. I hope you all are too. If we get through this song, everything will be fine. Hard to me. Rain will
you guys are doing good.
Sunlight's always free.
Feel free to paint a box.
Give a bird a thrill, someplace to chill with a chickadee. Soon we'll see a forest where Macy's used to be. Give a squirrel a Dora.
Well, we're doing just fine.
Let's go.
Wild forest?
Well,
That's what you guys have up here, but you don't do any logging up here other than.
yes.
But that's why you can have fire if you do, and let nature regrow.
Yeah.
So you're in a better spot.
Well, that's right.
Some of these places here is not.
It's not like that.
No, it isn't like that. So, we just want you to say, hey, go for the wild
Good to
forest.
see you. Thank you. Take care.
Okay.
The imaginary props go along with the song. Imaginary prop number 1 is the telephone. There it is. Very good. Excellent. Just a little bit. I'm just buzzed on smooth play. The second prop is the answer machine. I'd like to ask if anybody has a camera, please come up to the stage now. Because I wasn't feeling weird enough already. Hello. How's the family? See, he's shooting me right now, but I'm not doing anything. You should shoot Jacob, because Jacob's about to do something.
I'm still not doing it.
But you will be. And you were about to, and then I interrupted you, like the rude son of a... Shoot him. Shoot him. Okay. Beep, 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 beep. In which to speak. Beep. Hi, Mom. It's me, your son, number 3. Pick up, pick up, pick up. It's me, it's Josh. I wish you were in, 'cause by now it has been 3 weeks since you did my wash. It's such an awful quandary, I have tons of dirty laundry, not to mention all the dishes in the sink. If it isn't too much trouble, come on over on the double, 'cause I fear I'm getting dizzy from the stink. And also, I was gonna ask you... Beep.
There's no woman on the stage. Yeah. So you normally ask for volunteer, but usually no one wants to do it because they're very afraid of people are worried. So if nobody wants to do it, that's okay. We don't have to have it. Just move on. We'll just do the next one. Why?
What I don't see is I don't see how you can have fees as an important component of it. First, I don't think you can do it. California's tried to do it with its state parks, and what happened is we got degraded state parks that were falling apart, and now the new administration is trying to fix the damage tried by 16 years of trying to run these things as enterprises. I don't think you can support enterprises, support the forest like an enterprise when you have this huge amount of land, and when you take a look at like national park or parks like Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm, when you see the density you need to make something like that pay, I think we got a problem.
I don't have any vision that we ought to ever take these national forests and make them be self-sustaining based on fees. I don't think that that's an appropriate vision.
What frightens us is that the people in Congress who fund you do have that vision. And this is something we have to oppose.
I think, as I mentioned earlier, I see the opportunity to utilize fees and the correct appropriations to improve management. And what we really need to do is sit down with user groups all across the state and talk about, we all have a similar goal, and that's to make sure we manage the land appropriately and that we manage these recreation resources appropriately. Now let's take that issue, lay it out, and see what's the best way to get that issue resolved.
I agree with you there, and one of the things I think that should have been done is that before the Congress just willy-nilly cut the budget, which they have been doing for a couple of decades now, and before they impose this on a rider, we didn't have the discussions first. We had this thing snuck through on an appropriations rider, and you know how that process works. If something that so drastically changes the way we deal with our public lands is going to be done, it needs to be done as a freestanding bill where we can have open debate and where people can understand what's going on, not snuck through on these riders where you've got a jillion other items and you can't pay attention to exactly what's in there. Sometimes you can't even find them. You know how thick these things are.
Oh, I do. The key thing, and you know it better than I do, when it's a congressional issue or a political issue, folks like yourself and other users of the national forest, the key to that. That's who your congressmen listen to, that's who your local county folks listen to, and you need to make sure that your views are being heard not only by us, but by them as they work to craft legislation. But the key, I still think, is before it gets in Congress, before we try to work out any legislation, is that the users of the national forest sit down, talk about what they'd like to see happen, come to some agreements around common goals, and then allow us to help achieve that, and eventually have the political side of the world help us achieve that.
That is what I would like to see happen, and unfortunately it's not what's happening. I'd support you fully on that. But this is, I wish the people in Washington, both in the administration and in the Congress, would get that message that we need to talk about our public lands before we try to put some schemes on them that probably won't work based on the experience the state parks won't work.
But a part of what they're trying to do with the fee demo is try some things before they make any legislation. And if you looked at what we're doing here in California, it's markedly different than what we're doing in Oregon and Washington or back in Virginia. They hope to be able to have information from all around the country, assess that, and then make a determination what works, what doesn't work before we move ahead. So I think that's
just the
What do you got there? What are they going to think of next?
With guns. With guns.
Well, we've been up there on the
One more? Is that the thing?
We may do it.
We try.
And
Middle of the radio.
Yeah, I get some of these every so often.
Good job. If I'm going to be on the news, I want royalties.
As long as it doesn't
making-
bite you, you're safe. Would it?
If I were the news guy, I'd wait until it was wrapped around
It
your
might
neck.
choke me to death and then swallow me. Come on.
You can go
Ben,
ahead.
it's your turn. Go ahead. Come here. Just walk over here on this side of me. Walk over here.
Did you have to do this in med school?
Ben, just put your hand down. Put your hand down. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. He will not hurt you. She, I'm sorry. There we go. Let's do it on this side. Just put your hand out. They don't bite.
They don't bite.
well,
They swallow, don't they? Do they bite?
They will bite if you swallow you.
Big fish.
Oh, he's going to tell you. He's like, oh, that looks like food.
Let's keep them
Little
on
ones
the
look
cage.
like they're
Yeah.
about the biggest.
why don't you just stick her head down in the hole now, and then she'll move on back in.
There you go. I think that means she's had it. There you go. Now listen to the boss here. Good
There you go.
He's the one that did the piece I gave you yesterday, and he was a little disappointed because part of it was cut. But this is
Tomorrow we're going to act even better.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
gonna, tomorrow we're going to do the real thing.
So are you ready tomorrow to tell all the LA agencies to put a cork in it? They tell me when I wrote that press release that it might not.
Well, I guess I don't know.
I brought a cork. No, we're actually gonna. I just figured I'd joke. No, we can, as long as you're not rolling. No, tomorrow we've created this thing we call the water relay, where kids actually pour water from a rain spout to a street, to a gutter, to a storm drain, off to the ocean, and we're going to show how by putting a forest in the middle of it, we'll capture the water and start recycling it. So we should have some good kids there for you to interact with.
Well, that sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Oh, it's great that you're here.
Earrings.
Yes,
you
I
didn't
know,
get that.
I know.
Yeah. You know, Andy, the thing that's really neat about the work that's going on in the LA basin, the Angeles National Forest provides 72% of the open space in the LA basin and 35% of the water. You imagine the value as we look at these mountainsides with forests catch, store, and release water over time, and our objective is to keep water on the land longer, to provide more water in a useful way to places like the LA basin.
Well, with the potential of 20 more years of drought, given NASA's latest projections, it's all the more important. And it's so great that this forest was the first, and that what it did was do that, capture, hold, release water.
And the health of the land is even more important when a system is under stress, because that function of the water percolating down and recharging the aquifers, replenishing the groundwater tables, rather than just quickly rushing off the land into an aqueduct and on into the ocean, is not what we want to be doing.
Well, just imagine what would happen if local policy makers really understood the value, and we could manage this whole forest for water, all that many more jobs, that much more from boosting the economy to the whole ecosystem. So hopefully we're going to see that in the long term.
And that's important not only here on the Angeles, but I think about, the national forests make up about 20% of the state of California. There's about 20 million acres on the 18 national forests, and they provide about 50% of the runoff to places like San Francisco, Santa Rosa, Los Angeles, San Diego. It's all just incredibly important.
And when you see the scorched hills and you see how much water holding capacity was lost in one fire, it's just all the more. It just brings it home how important all this work is.
That's right.
Need me to be mumbling?
Yep. Just say something. Anything.
Is this wild sound? Or you're not
Yeah.
going to really use
No,
that?
you can just-
I tell him jokes and make
Yeah, sure.
make him scared about what I'm going to
Tell
do
him a
tomorrow?
water joke.
No, I don't actually have any good ones, but the only one was just thinking about telling LA to put a cork in it. So.
No, tell me more. It's well, part of the process when a tree makes sugar, part of the process is giving us. Do you know what I call a heat island? When we leave this forest, I go out and I find asphalt roads, concrete sidewalks, parking lots. What happens when the sun shines down on that?
It gets hot.
It gets hot. That's right. You can find it's going to be.
Hi. My son John. This is
John, how are you?
Chief of Forest Service, Consul Chief. Hey Charles, how are you? Fine.
Pleasure to meet you.
How
you doing?
I'm John.
Good to meet you.
Paul Pope, Consul Chief of Israel. Nice to meet you.
Kids, come.
John, he's a pretty good boss. He's a real taskmaster. I don't know if he was like that. It was like that as a kid. I'm used to it.
Tu bishvat.
Tu bishvat, yeah. Okay, horrible day. We'll go and, yeah, look at some things. Brad, did you see it? How are you doing? I want you to meet Dan Glickman.
Fine.
Glad you can make it.
Hey, Chuck. I want you to meet the Secretary of Natural Resources.
Great to meet you. I'm really thrilled you came out.
Thank you. Yeah, no, glad. So we've got a good day here. Let's go. We'll go up and make the round. Did the